Presence myself, Dave Tassoni, Mr. Webster, Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Kelly, and Mrs. Fellers, Miss Fellers, I'm sorry. And along with that is County Administrator Patrick Thompson, our Chairman, Mr. Shirelli. We have Carlos Molina from the Highway Department and John Gilberti from their State's Attorney's Office. Did I miss anybody?
Dave, if I could add, Mr. Girl called and said that he didn't think he was going to be able to make it. And then I understand that Mr. Billick is going to be a little bit late.
Okay, all right, we'll wait and see if their attendance comes, and we'll count them absent if they show up. Okay, so for now, we do have a quorum, and I would move for approval of our November 17th, 2020 minutes. Any changes, corrections?
I'll move.
Seconded by Mr. Webster and Mr. Kelly. Oh, we got something up here on the board now.
Yeah, I if it's okay with you all, I'm going to share the screen that shows the agenda. That way everybody can see what we're talking about.
Is it all right? It just makes my all my seeing you guys a lot smaller. So bear with me if I miss anybody, and just we'll go with that. All right.
Is that okay, Dave?
I mean, whatever you want. I got 3 laptops on myself right now, so I've got it on a full screen on another laptop. If it helps everybody else, that's fine with me. I don't have no opinion.
I'm good with it either. I'm good either way, Chairman.
Yeah, we can deal with it. It's just like I say, you guys might have to holler at me if someone's got their hand up or wants to say something. I see Mr. Kelly's there. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd leave it off. I got it I got the agenda on my desktop. I think most of us probably got some way of dealing with it. Okay. And yeah, it obstructs your vision.
Okay, I'll stop the share then. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, and like I say, if anybody, I mean, my habit is to have 2 or 3 screens on, so don't bother me.
Okay.
All righty then. And I think it was seconded by Mr. Kelly and Mr. Webster on the approval of minutes. And we'll move on with that. Seeing nobody here on the screen for public participation, we'll forego the language of that. And we will move on to legislation. First item of business is it's legislation. It's a resolution 20-043. And it's a resolution authorizing the approval of a change in plans to reconcile bid quantities with as-built quantities for the resurfacing of Kishwaukee Road from Meridian Road to Beltline Road at Airport Drive. It's a cost of $129,110.27. It's a deduction. It's in District 9. I would so move and ask for a second. Seconded by Mr. Webster and Mr. Kelly. And Mr. Molina, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tassoni. As you said, that this is a deduction, and this is something that we have to do at the end of every project. We have to reconcile the bid quantities with the final measure quantities. And in this case, we ended up with a deduction of $129,000. And the reason for that mostly was it had to do with an item called incidental bituminous, which is a very expensive item, and it is usually used for driveways and side streets. And in the field, sometimes we make decisions to do what's best. And then in this case, we felt that we could eliminate some of these quantities and save the county some money. After your approval of these change orders, this has to go to the state so that we can finalize the project following the MFT regulations.
Anybody have any question, comments on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is Angela Fellers. My only question is, does this go back into our budget? I'm an aye regardless. I'm just curious what the process is.
This, yeah, thank you, Ms. Fellers. Yeah, this This is just, this is a budgeted item, obviously, and if we didn't spend the money, it just stays. In this case, it will stay in our MFT fund.
Thank you. I was just confused by your comment about it going back to the state. I didn't know if the money went back to the state or if you meant it needed to go there for approval. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure. The MFT funds are funds that are issued to the county and through the state, but they do not go back to the state. However, the state has to approve, all change orders, contracts, pay estimates, and things like that. They have to approve that in the end.
Mr. Molina, with this this 129,000, it's a deduction. Is that subject to the 80-20 split? Is that full 129 going back into your budget, or is that subject to the 80-20?
Right, good question. This is not a federal funded project, so the county pays 100%. So all 129,000 will go back to the county MFT fund.
Okay, in case though it was a matching and you showed maybe a deduction of 129, would that be separated then at the 80-20?
Correct. That would be the case on federal funded projects.
Yeah, so just if this was a federal funded project and you showed 129 deduction, we'd get 2030 back and the state would have a deduction in their end result? That
is the case if it was a federally funded project.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. McCarthy.
Yes, just a question. This money, as Mr. Bellino mentioned, is going to go back into our fund. Can this be used for other projects, or what happens to this money at this point?
All right. No, a good question. And actually, I got to go back and look at and tell you that when we budget for the, for the county budget, it might not be necessarily the amount that what we're deducting here. Because what we do is we make estimates, and our budget is based on estimates. Then during that year, we go out for bids. So the bids are not necessarily, if we were 100% right, it would be exactly what we budgeted. But typically they're not, it's not the same. It's not 100% right. So in this case, we actually budgeted for Kishwaukee Road. We had budgeted I have that number somewhere. We have budgeted $1.8 million. When we went out for bids, we got some really good bids, and actually the bid was $1.2 million. When we finished the construction, we were actually able to deduct some items, and that's the $129,000 that I bring it to you as a change order. So it's not just 129,000, but it's the 1.8 minus the final cost of this project. That what goes back to the MFT funds, which is more like $500,000, because we budgeted more than what the contract was for.
So, just like to pop in and say that I think that's great news.
Yes, it is.
And okay, so at first I would ask did we do all in favor of that? I know we had a question or two, but all in favor of that item?
Aye.
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 Okay, the motion's approved. And just for informational purposes, with respect to the new seated board members that are attending this committee, under chairman's report, and once we get through these items of resolutions and legislation, I'm going to take a few minutes myself just to give you an overview, what I know and how Public Works Committee works, and along with the Highway Department, and then ask Mr. Molina to go in some more detail. And like I say, I'm very well familiar about sitting in on a committee, maybe not being so apt to know exactly what they do and how they do it. And there's a lot of different funding sources and ways things get done. And it took me a few years just to get up to speed with it. I've been fortunate to be on the Public Works Committee for 12 years. So, and like I say, the bit I don't know or whatever, Mr. Molina can add all the other details to that as well. And so we'll get through that. It's just going to be a little cumbersome for you understanding this little bit of process, and then we'll get there. So if you can deal with that. Next item on the agenda is a resolution 20-044. It's similar to the one we just approved, but it's a resolution authorizing the approval of a change in plans to reconcile bid quantities with as-built quantities for the resurfacing of Montague Road from Kennedy Hill Road to Meridian Road, and at a deduction of $23,270.70. And I would so move. And seconded by Mr. Kelly. And as, like I say, pretty much synonymous with the last resolution for services or quantities that were under the budget. And would you like to speak to that at all, Mr. Molina?
Yeah, again, this is just based on the final measure quantities. And another, good news in this project is that we had budgeted $1 million for this project. And again, this year, for whatever reason, we were getting some really good prices. So that obviously helped our bottom line. So again, we budgeted $1 million, and the bids came up 680,000, I think it was. And then, and now we're still deducting another $23,000.
Okay, any questions, comments on that item? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. I see
Aye.
it's Did I hear somebody? No, okay. Resolution is approved. Next item on the agenda. I can scroll down here. It's resolution 20-045. It's a resolution authorizing the approval of a change in plans to reconcile bid quantities with as-built quantities for pavement repairs on Guilford Road, east of Mulford Road. It's a cost of it's an addition $50,000, $50,039.11. And I would so move. Seconded by Mr. Webster, Mr. Kelly. And just the opposite of the last two items, this is an addition in quantities. And like Carlos said, they do their best guess or their best science when they go out for bids and do their engineering projections. Sometimes in a perfect world, things come in under bid and less quantities. This happens to be an addition, and Mr. Molina would like to speak to it, please.
Yep, and yeah, you explained it really well, Mr. Tassoni. The reason for the increase in this project, and just so you're familiar, this is on Guilford Road, just east of Mulford Road. It was an area that it was in really bad shape. The pavement was crumbling. We had a lot of complaints, and spending a lot of money on maintenance, patching and things like that. So we did the project, and then once we opened up the, removed the pavement, we found a lot of unsuitable materials. So what we ended up doing is what we call in this industry undercutting. So we ended up removing the bad soils and replaced it with aggregate material. And that's what cost, for the most part, this addition. Undercutting is a tricky item. So what we do is we put a nominal amount so that we can get a bid price, so that when we, in case we had to, add additional undercut materials, we actually have a bid price, because it's very tough once you have a contract to and you request a price or a unit price from the contractor. It's very tough because now they're giving you a price that is really not a competitive price. They basically, you have a contract with them, you want to finish the project, and now you may end up paying a little more than what you normally would have. By including that pay item and putting a nominal amount, then we at least can get a unit price that it's been competitive because other contractors bid on it. So, and that's what we did here. And it's just happened that we had to do this to provide a stable base for that payment.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes. Now that project, I believe, is already completed, Mr. Molina.
That's correct, Mr.
Because when I drove by there and I saw that, and it's just like, I think it took 2, 3, no, maybe a week. The more I think about it, and I understand what you're saying. Sometimes you get into a project, then all of a sudden you realize, hey, wait a minute, there's some additional work that needs to be done. While they're doing it, let's make it work, because I think it's best at that point, whatever the additional cost is, let's get it done, because we don't want to be going back there again to dig it up.
That's right.
Any other questions or comments on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the resolution is approved. Next item on the agenda, It's a resolution 20-046. It's a resolution authorizing the supplemental appropriation of MFT funds for the maintenance of the county highways. It's a cost of $595,000. I would so move and speak to it. Second by Mr. Webster and Mr. Kelly. And I'll just give you my take on this, and Carlos will add to it. But basically, on an annual basis, there's things that the highway department appropriates money for, whether it be culvert pipes, whether it be gravel, stone, materials, and in-house items of that. I don't know what this exact one is for, but Mr. Molina, would you like to tell us specifically what this money will be buying?
Sure. And, to make things complicated, we work with different fiscal years, if I can call it that. We have the county's fiscal year, which is from October 1st through the end of September. And then we also work with, with the state, and they have a different fiscal year, which starts on July 1st. But also we have a general maintenance, maintenance year, and that starts on April 1st. So there is an overlap. So we're always trying to when we budget, we're always trying to balance, which projects are going to be done this year, this maintenance year or this fiscal year. In this case, what it is, as Mr. Tassoni said, every year in the spring, we'll come into the county board with an MFT and appropriation in the neighborhood of $8 million. This current maintenance year, the appropriation was for $8.5 million. And that includes basically everything that we do here, from maintenance projects to buy-in materials like pipe culverts, hot mix, and things like that, buy-in salt. And also, it also includes all of our labor so that, we can charge our labor. And by labor, I mean our guys that are plowing or doing potholes, so that we can charge it to MFT, because otherwise that money would come out of county highway. So what happened in this case, this is for 3 projects that were actually in fiscal year 2021, the county's fiscal year. So in the spring, we weren't sure when these projects were going to be done. And then, we got them done after October 1st. So, and before the question is asked, this money has been budgeted. It's just that we need to bring this supplemental appropriation so that we can charge it to MFT.
Any other questions, comments on that item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, the resolution is approved. The final resolution, 20-047. It's a resolution declaring as surplus highway department vehicles and equipment. No cost to the county at this time. I'd so move. Seconded by Mr. Webster. And just for the newly seated committee members here, this is an annual item that happens that allows the highway department to either sell or auction off, the used equipment that they've worn out, no longer need. And I believe this is an annual item here that just allows them to go forth. There's various places, public surplus auction, maybe they list it in the paper or whatnot, but it just gives them authority to sell their, unneeded equipment. Carlos, would you like to add to that, Carlos?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, we have to follow the county's purchasing ordinance, and this is part of what we have to do so that we can dispose of equipment. And, when we dispose of the equipment, we work with the purchasing department. This is so that we can that we are authorized to dispose of the equipment. And it might take us all year to get rid of it, but we have to start thinking about, because we don't use it, it's just sitting in the yard. So.
Okay, Mr. McCarthy.
Yes, with the township, I know there were organizations that the highway commissioner used to sell. They used to interact with one another, which was great because with Cherry Valley Township, we really received some great deals, as a number of the other township has as well. Mr. Molina, is this something similar that we would sell I guess, not just anyone or any institution or whatever, but would other counties be interested in our vehicles? Is there some type of an exchange type of thing that would take place?
Yes, this actually, we work with the township really close, and then they have first crack at it, if you will. If they are interested in the equipment, they would make us an offer, and then but in order to do so, you still have to authorize us to sell the equipment. We have, through the years, we have sold plenty of equipment to the townships, from paint trucks to rollers to heavy duty to pickup trucks, and not only township but other municipalities as well.
As we all work through budgets, I really appreciate that, and I just see or saw the value of townships and counties and other departments working together, because there's all different budgets and always limited budgets. So thank you, Mr. Molina, for sharing that.
Any other questions or comments on that item? All in favor? Okay, the resolution is approved. And we'll go into other matters. I see Carlos has some things here for information only. Would you like to speak to those, Mr. Molina?
Yeah, Mr. Tassani, thank you. Again, for information only, those are change orders. And because of the amounts, you don't have to approve them as legislation, but we always want to make sure that we bring it over to you. And again, these are other projects that, and as you can see, for the most part, they are deductions. There's one that is an addition, but by the county's ordinance, we don't have to do this via legislation. So, but we still, again, want to inform you of how those projects ended. One of them was I'm sorry, this is actually not completed, but it's a project that we partially were doing a change order for the Baxter Road and Mulford Road. The next one is the Perryville Road patching project by the mall. And then the last one is a crack seal maintenance project that we did.
Okay, any questions or comments on those three items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. I'm going to take just a few minutes here. I could spend 2 or 3 hours just giving you the tip of the iceberg as far as what passes through this committee and how the county highway department works. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes or less, because I like to do things real quick. But at any rate, welcome the newly board members to this committee. It'll take you, I'm assuming, if you haven't been in the construction and road business for most of your life, it'll take you a little bit to get up to speed as far as some of the terminologies and things we purchase and what we do here. But basically, and I'll ask Carlos to go into more detail with it as well. But basically what this committee does is it manages and approves all the expenditures that come through the Winnebago County Highway Department. And that goes from dump trucks to road graders to gravel and culvert pipes and blacktop and salt and things of that nature. Everything you could think of, that the highway department might use. And there's a couple of different funding sources that the county utilizes. I think major one is motor fuel tax. A big portion of the county's budget is based on motor fuel tax. It was maybe a year or two ago where I believe the state practically doubled the motor fuel tax. Is that correct, Carlos?
They doubled the amount that we pay at the gas pump, but we only get 68%. They keep the other 32%.
Yeah, and it had been quite lengthy amount of time since the state had increased their motor fuel tax. But as I said, it did give $2, $3, $4 million a year addition to the county's budget. I believe it's somewhere in that neighborhood. So it allowed us to do a few more things. To be candid, the county highway department, we have hundreds of millions of dollars of projects that need to be done in the county, and we don't have the money to do them. And when you're talking about fixing a bridge or a mile or two of roadway, I mean, upwards of, 10, 20, 30, $50 million to do some of these projects. And we're just really, operating on a shoestring budget. And one of the things that happens here through this committee in the county highway, which is like when 80-20 matching federal funds, So take a $10 million road project that qualifies for federal match. The Fed will put in 8 million and the county has to come up with their 2 million. That's how we maximize, the value of our dollar to get things done. But in that case, we have to have the $2 million to get their 8. So, we can stretch the dollar and make it go a long way with the matching funds, but we got to have our portion. And that's what we think about in the future is, how we can get the best bang for our buck. Along with that, and like I say, I don't have the specific legal terms, so I'll just give you the layman terms. Based on legislation, the monies for the townships, I believe it's within our region or within the county, their expenditures and funding and the monies need to be approved and go through the county highway department. That's just the way it's set up in legislation. So you'll see things that come in. It might say $500,000 expenditure for Rockford Township, but that's not our money. That's their money. That's just passed through because based on legislation, it has to be handled through the highway department. And then again, over the years, I know Kevin, you asked about things, townships and then how we interact with them. Many times, this county highway department, Mr. Molina as engineer in this committee, I think we do a very good job and go above and beyond the call of duty to assist other townships, whether it be purchasing equipment, helping them with when they're in need, say they're broke down or they've got drifted roads, shutter equipment broke down and they need help. And it's gone on for my whole lifetime. The counties and township, they do, cost sharing, or they might, we provide them labor, they provide us labor, we help them, they help us. And then again, that goes even further, whether it might be the forest preserve or the park district. And Carlos, since he's been in there and even before, we've gotten a little tighter about when we provide them labor, we charge them for that labor, or at least it's documented. And we know, hey, we've done certain X amount of dollars worth of work for you. And in return, they would do X amount of dollars in work for us. So that's there. And like I said, there's a real good relationship with a lot of entities. And just wanted to bring that up. I just wanted to let you guys know, like I say, it'll take you a while to get the language down and understand what we're talking about. Sometimes I'll be patient with that. And with that, I'd like Mr. Molina to add his thoughts as far as anything he would, and any other board members as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tassoni. What I really like to say, because there is a lot, and at any time, that you want me to come and talk to you, or you want to visit our highway department, you're more than welcome. I can share my my cell phone with you, and you can call me at any time if you have questions. Because a citizen has a concern in your district, and you're not sure of the answer, you feel free to call me at any time. Like I said, I'll give you my cell phone, and then I can I can help you out with that. Whether it is because a tree might be in the way, or they're concerned that the tree is going to come down in their property, or because somebody would like to see a street light on the road. No, what happens a lot of times in your districts, and you're going to see that, is that even though they live in the county, the highways in front of their houses are not county highways; they are township roads. So, but I can help you out with that as well. We have close to 300 miles of highway that we maintain, but there is 600 miles of township roads in Winnebago County. There are 14 townships. And we work with all of them, on a daily basis. And they do, besides us helping them, they help us a lot too. If there's a tree that comes down in the middle of the night, say in the Duran area, those guys are pretty good about just going out and, because they're right there and moving the tree out of the way. Things like that. We do help each other. Not everything is done, by charging them, but we do charge them for our engineering and our time. That's just the way it should be done. The same thing with villages in the city of Rockford. We do work closely with all of them, the city of Lewisburg. So, like I said, there is so much to know. There is actually 4 funds that we use to maintain our highways and bridges. MFB County Highway, a county bridge, and federal aid match. The last three, those are part of your real estate tax. And then the MFT is obviously gas. You know, and again, I can go into you know, like Dave said, you know, talk about it for, you know, for 2 hours. But if anytime you want to do that, and you know, or through the meetings you got questions, please feel free to ask me, and you know, and I'll help you as much as I can. You know, again, if you're more than welcome to come to the highway department if you have time, and I'll be glad to go over in more detail.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes, I just can't express enough, and thank you, Mr. Molina, for saying just that when it comes to building relationships, whether it be with towns, municipalities, and right within the county, one helps another, and this is so beneficial to the taxpayer. And yes, I would like to visit with you, Mr. Molina, just to you know, learn a little bit more about your office, get a little more in depth, being with Cherry Valley Township, of course. A lot of our business we done, or I've done with the township, was with roads and highways, maybe some bridges. So there's a great interest, and it could be boring to others. To me, I find it rather exciting. So, but saying all of that, thank you for the offer. And yes, I will be reaching out to you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, as well.
Thank you. Mr. Webster?
Yeah, thank you, David. If you'd allow me, I just want to add to what you were saying, and Carlos as well. For the people that are new here, you see John Gilberti's on there, and John Gilberti is our one of our assistant state's attorneys. He's assigned to this committee to keep us on the straight and narrow when it comes to legal matters, and so he doesn't get enough credit for that. So if we step out of line, he's there to get us back in line again. So thank you for that, John. He's been here for a number of years.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
So yeah, we're glad he's here. So secondly, David, if you allow me, as far as getting things done in the order that projects get taken care of, several years ago, we came up with the County Highway Asset Management Plan. And I'm sure by now we've, a lot of those items on there we have taken care of. So perhaps we could get an updated version of that, Carlos, sometime. And I think the new members find that very interesting about how we scored all of our highways and the importance of them, and the way we maintain them, what needs to be done before the next one. Because we all say we get our districts, we say, well, I need this or that, you know. Well, the importance of getting things done depends oftentimes on the use of that road, how much traffic is on that road and the general condition and so forth. And that's when we came up with that Highway Asset Management Plan. It's called a sham for short, not a sham. No, don't get it confused like one member did.
Right.
So thank you for allowing me to butt in there, Dave. But we've been working together for a number of years, and this is probably the one of the easier committees to make decisions on, because our decisions are fact-based, and this comes out of what the work that Carlos and the other engineers do at the Highway Department. Thank you.
Absolutely. And with that, is there any other comments from any board members? Mr. Thompson, would anybody like to add anything or have any questions? No, seeing none. Okay, thank you for that. And like I say, we'll get there somehow, some way. And thank you both for being here, Ms. Fellers, Mr. McCarthy. Okay, Carlos, would you like to carry us on?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tassoni. I'm going to go through the reports, and the first item that I had in here was the Baxter Road and Illinois 251 signals. I actually was hoping that Mr. Billick, would be at the meeting, because as I was telling David the other day, what this is, let me just back up a little bit and give you a little history. The intersection of Baxter Road and Illinois 251, it's an intersection that did not have traffic signals. And the only reason why you see signals there now is because the state did when the state was doing the construction on I-39, they increased the traffic on Baxter Road. Therefore, they needed to put temporary signals at 251 and Baxter Road. The problem with that intersection is that there's been a lot of accidents there, and most of them involved trucks, semis. So we asked the state to keep those signals there, because of safety. Now the state follows their own guidelines, and they felt that without the additional traffic, that was coming from I-39 during construction, the signals were not warranted at that intersection. But there's been a lot of pressure from the sheriff department and from county board members and citizens to do signals there. So we had the opportunity, once those temporary signals were there, to keep them there, but the state would allow us to keep them there as long as the county paid for them. So I brought this to committee a couple months ago, and they authorized me to go ahead and purchase those signals from the state. It cost $46,000. Really, it's not much money for a set of signals, but that's what it costs. So for now, that money is coming out of our budget. We have a budget item for traffic signals, and however, in one of the committee meetings, month ago or so, you had asked me to research and see if we could get host fees to reimburse the highway department for the cost of the signals. So in doing so, I found out that actually has to go through the Economic Development Committee. And so this is, what, we're planning to do is to bring it through the Economic Development Committee. But I wanted to let you know that was the plan. And I understand that, Mr. Jas Bellick is the chair of that committee. And then I wanted to let him know that was the plan.
Yeah, just to add to that, it was my intention or my hope that if Mr. Billich was here tonight, we could have gave him a presentation as well as our newly seated members here and just brought him up to speed on that and to plead for our request. And at least he would have some information before we just sprung it on the Economic Development Committee, asking for upwards of 50 grand out of the host fees. And I would also add, I got you in a second, Mr. Kelly, but I would also add to the new members, if just to give you the 1 minute crash course on the host fees, it was, I'm guessing close to 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, when the other owners had the Winnebago County Reclamation, the landfill. It was just, they call it a tipping fee, some cush money, gratitude money, whatever it is you want to call it. But the county was fortunate to get a certain percentage of money off of each ton of garbage that was put in the landfill. And yeah, over the last 5-6 years, we did approve for an expansion, sizable expansion on the landfill. The landfill out there has since been bought up by a large corporate company out of Texas. It's no longer locally owned as it was, but we still receive tipping fees, so to speak, by way of tonnage of garbage. And that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $4 million a year. Way back when, I don't think it was put in writing so much as it was the sentiment of it was for economic development and some alternative programs and things of that nature. But I think myself, I mean, and all of us on here might have a little different thought of what economic development or how you might want to see those monies spent. But I think it's just basically it can be spent in any way the majority of the board feels necessary. So we're going to be pleading our case for upwards of $46,000 or so. We're going to be asking for that. A lot of times it's doled out. There's off the top of my head, $500,000 a year goes to the Metro Center, the BMO Harris Center, to help them stay alive. That's up in 2024, I believe. That was maybe a 10-year commitment. Upwards of $500,000 a year goes to the new sports complex and maybe Nicholas Conservatory and other things. And there's been some high dollar amounts, whether it be $1 million or $2 million one-time deals. The last hot topic was the roundabout out by Costco and Loves Park there. but it's used for a variety of issues. And I've seen over the last 8-10 years that, it's beginning to be used for however many votes you can get in favor. If you can get a majority of the votes, then we can spend it on that. So, like I say, if there's something that comes up where you feel there's a need, hey, plead your case and cross your fingers, and we can spend it that way. I've got no opinion on how it should be spent. Whatever the majority of the board feels, that's how it should be spent. So go on. Anybody else got any comments on that item? Mr. Webster?
Yeah, I could go on for a while about my comments on that, but you did point it out there, though, that it's never been cast in stone, that is for economic development, solely for economic development. And so just for your own information, that money goes into the general fund. The county can use that money in any way we see fit when it comes out of that general fund. That's the difference. Just a quick correction. That's the difference between a tipping fee and a host fee. So counties that garner payments from landfills that are within their county, they can choose whichever route they want. Essentially, they can go tipping or host fees. Tipping fees, they can only use those for environmental things and so forth, green, so to speak, green things as we call them, green improvements, whatever. Host fees, on the other hand, go to the general fund. That's the major difference, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Gilberti.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody got any more comments on that item? Sorry to distract us there, but I just wanted to, Mr. Kelly, I see you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I will heartily endorse the 46,000 from the host fees for those lights. It's my district, and New Milford drastically needs it. There have been a lot of accidents there.
Yeah, I think it was the sentiment of the past committee, and I mean, I think even anybody who's familiar with that, anybody who's had to wait there when there's congestion and cross 4 lanes of 251 highway and a couple turn lanes, and there's a blind spot in the truck turn. I've always wished there was a light there, so I'm supportive as well.
Chairman, I have a question. This is Ms. Fellers.
Go ahead, Ms. Fellers.
In the event that the rest of the board or the Economic Development Committee would not vote to allocate host fees to this, would some of the monies that we just recovered from projects that came in under budget, could that be allocated for that instead?
Well, I just give you my take on it. This is the way I feel. For what we need to do at the county and the money that we have to use that, I mean, we just don't have it. Anything we can get our hands on out of the host fee, otherwise someone else is going to get their hands on it. And I mean, and that's the way it is. The way I've seen it over the years with this host fees, it's whoever pleads their best case, whoever the majority are sympathetic to. I mean, I've seen it go from, for me, some things I voted in favor for frivolous things that I shook my head at, but I voted in favor because it was sincere to someone else, and I really didn't have a problem with it. So, Mr. Kelly.
It's a great big piñata.
Mr. Sellers, did you need to? I think part of it was that we're going to give it a shot, and I mean, 46 grand's a drop in the bucket. If it was up to me, and even our past Public Works Committee, for 12 years, I've been trying to get a commitment of $500,000 a year out of the host fees to the County Highway Department. I think we're real close this time.
Good. I would be in strong favor of a perpetual source of funding for infrastructure and for road projects. I think that would be a really a really effective use of money for a lot of reasons: economic development, transportation, safety. It hits a lot of buckets, and I want to clarify, I'm not opposed to host fees being used for the stoplights. I was just curious about how the different mechanisms work.
Well, and I would add to that, that out of Mr. Molina's highway budget, he has already paid that fee. We're asking for a recoup of that fee. Is that correct, Mr. Molina?
That is correct. And, we can probably cover in our budget if we don't say that we are, $46,000 short towards the end of the year, because again, this came out of our maintenance for traffic signals, which is in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $250,000. If we come up short, then I would probably come back and ask for a budget amendment towards the end of the year. Now, what happens though is that, that money, again, those funds that you saw in those change orders, they go back to the Mfb Funds. We have to do the paperwork so that it could be, assigned to this project. However, what happens though is that there is another project that we won't do, for $50,000, because we'll spend it. We have already spent it on this. If we do get the $46,000, we'll be able to apply it to another project.
And just a question I have, if there's anybody here, first person to speak that could answer this, because I'm not positive about it. How long is our host fee commitments? When is that renewal, or when is that the deadline? Mr. Kelly, do you know?
It's gonna expire. The landfill will be at capacity somewhere between 10 and 15 years from now. So it's finite. It's not indefinite.
Okay, so we're guesstimating 10 to 15 years of those monies, and it has, and like I say, with the, we're taking in a lot more garbage. It was authorized to allow them, I don't know if it was authorized, but they're bringing in a lot more garbage from out of town because other communities don't have room or landfills. So we're getting more money for it. Yeah, where our landfill's filling up faster, but it's a good chunk of $2 to $4 million, up or down, that it does a lot of things for us. All right, moving on, Mr. Molina.
Yeah, the next item, it's a purchase of a use roller. So, in line with what we were talking about earlier, Rockford Township has a rubber tire roller that they don't use anymore. And the reason why they don't use it is because they are not doing seal coating. The townships are not doing seal coating anymore. They're hiring that out. So what happened is we have two 1996 rubber tire rollers that are in bad shape. And we spent about $5,000 in the last 2 summers, I think, just in repairs. So what happened is this past, summer, our one roller went down, and then we needed to borrow, and Rockford Township was nice enough to let us use the roller, and which is also an old roller, but is in better shape than ours. So again, just in the spirit of cooperation, they're offering it to us for $3,000. We think it is a good deal, and I'd like to, your blessing to go ahead and purchase it from them. We do have a line item in the budget, for things like this. And because it is less than that what the purchasing ordinance allows, I think it's $25,000, then we don't have to take it to full county board. But again, we want to make sure that you are aware of it.
Fine by me.
Thank you. The next item, this is again for your information only, and for the new county board members that may not know this, we built and maintain a few bike paths. One of them is the Pecatonica that goes from Meridian Road west to the Stevenson County line. The path runs along a Committe, right away. And what happened is, as part of our project that we did 10 years ago, we put up a bridge near the eastern part of Pecatonica that can't handle the Committe truck traffic. So what they want to do, this is Committe, they are going to next year, put a new bridge there. when I talk about a bridge, is a prefab bridge that, is mostly for pedestrians, but because it is their Committe's property, they had to run their equipment, along the path. So what they're gonna do is they're going to, at their own cost, they're gonna replace the bridge. And again, because this was a prefab or pre-made bridge, they're just saying that, if we want it, and we do want it. So we're gonna store it probably at the Pecatonic Fairgrounds until we can use it, or until another entity might have a need for it. It's about 14 feet wide, 45 foot long. So just letting you know.
Mr. McCarthy, you got a question?
So this is our bridge that we're going to be storing, or eventually? Okay.
Yeah, it is our bridge. However, again, let's go back to federal funds. This is a project that we did with federal funds, Transportation Enhancement Funds, ITAP, and where the feds pay for 80% and the county pay for 20%. So for 20 years, this really is more of a, it's not really ours, but it is. And we have to follow still federal guidelines. So it's not like we can just get rid of it, because it is, the feds pay for 80% of it. It's been 10 or 11 years since we built that path. So the way I look at it is, we're going to store it, and then maybe there is a need to, Stevenson County, it's continuing with their portion of the Pecatonic Approach, and maybe at one point they will need it, and then we can, it will be the same trail, and then maybe they can use it. We'll have a some sort of an agreement where they could use it and then reimburse maybe the county for the 20%.
Okay, and me being the newbie on board, I'm sure those of you who've been here, it sounds like it's a good thing where maybe later we could use this or sell it again or do something where we could be, where it would be beneficial for us. So thank you, Mr. Molina and Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Right, the next item is, again, just information. We have as we have a couple of solar lights that we installed a few years back. Street lights at intersections. One of them is at Gleasman and Roscoe Road, and the other one was at Argyle and oh boy, I forgot the name of that street. It's the road that takes you to down to the Sports Court 2. But anyways, those solar lights, we wanted to see how they worked, and they work for a little bit, but when it gets really cold, they just don't work. It's not just about the sun, it's just that they really don't work. So what we're doing is we're actually working with Committe to install the an LED light there. We pay in the neighborhood of $8 to $15 a month, per street light, LED lights. It's more for some of the older lights. So anyways, just letting you know that that's what's going to be happening. And again, we have several or many street lights, around the county and throughout the county. But these are just two that we were trying solar lights. They've been in place for about 8 years now. So. And they were expensive. We spent about $2,000 each, and they just didn't. When you hear that, the solar lights, that's the way that we should go. I just want to let you know that we have tried that, and maybe there is better technology there. I know there is, but they cost about $10,000 a piece, and we pay $15 a month, to come to have these lights, and they work much better. Again, in the spirit of cooperation, and I know Mr. Webster is familiar with this. Sherland Township is one of our poor townships in the county. They haven't been able to afford a plow truck for quite some time now. And then, so we've been helping them. As a matter of fact, last year, their one truck went down, and then we let them use one of our plow trucks. We do have to rent it to them. We follow the state's rental rates. And again, they asked us this year, again, if we could help them out. And we said yes, because we do have a couple of spur trucks that they can use. So, we have a signed agreement, with them. And, it's basically going to cost, it cost them $33 per hour when the truck is in use. And the way that the commissioner told me worked last year is it was really beneficial to their budget as well.
Hey, Mr. Molina?
Mhm.
Could you just a thought of mine, I don't know if this is doable or if you know if it has been done. And this is just hypothetically, say there was a 2-mile stretch of county road that was way off the beaten path of yours that, you know, it just, hey, man, it doesn't make sense for us to leave this area, go way over there, hit that road. Would it ever be to where, okay, say you documented, okay, we're hourly rate for the truck, but in return, they're plowing this stretch of road that makes no sense for us to go up to? Could a deal like that be made?
It could, however, especially this township, they really don't have the
Staff either?
the equipment or the staff to do that. And typically, you know, we get there, you know, before the townships do. However, you know, if there is a tree that is down, you know, across the road, you know, there's things like that that could be worked out. You know, we do that. Again, Sherland Township is just a township that just doesn't have enough money. You know, but if they had equipment like Roscoe Township or some of the other townships that they do, we could work out a deal where we can just trade, you know, services like that.
Mr. Webster?
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Carlos, for working with the road commissioner from Sherland. As you said, we're one of the poorer townships, Sherland Township is. And so having just one truck and that one goes down, then you're really in deep trouble. And that's what happens out at Sherland Township. So the thing about crossing others' roads, though, I think we talked about this before. As you know, I plowed for the state before. I plowed for Roscoe Township and others as well. But what happens, people don't understand it. The general public doesn't. When they see a plow going down the road, there's lots of snow and the plow is up in the air. They don't understand why this guy doesn't have the plow down. And it's because of this jurisdictional thing there. For one of the reasons there is that your entity may not cover if something happens if you're plowing somebody else's roadways. And so that comes into play there at times. And so it's kind of a difficult thing for people to understand that. Right. I appreciate it there, and our county or township highway commissioner sure appreciates being able to get the availability of a decent running truck with a plow. Paying the going rate for that, for rental rate, that's fine. There's no issue with that either. And I think that's an absolutely fair way to do things. So thank you.
And if I may add, you know, we have helped other townships, you know, maybe on a snow event. You know, a couple of years ago, Burr Township had an issue with their truck. They had no truck. And you know, we actually helped them out, you know, and plow their roads for, you know, a couple of weeks until they had their truck fixed. So I know that Sherland is trying to buy a truck. It's just that they're looking for a $5,000. And, you know, those are hard to find, you know, so
Yeah.
they'll keep looking.
Yeah, geez.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that. And the other thing I will say this about with one, if you're employed by one township, state, county, whatever it is, and you have a normal plow route that you take care of. If you go to some other route, you don't know where all the pitfalls are at on that route. You don't know where the bridge abutments are or the holes in the road or whatever that you could tear a truck up and you know, or hurt yourself doing it there. And so that's why that we generally don't cross over each other's territory, or we do cross over. We don't drop the plow in someone else's territory. So there you go with that.
Well said. All right, the last thing I'm going to, you know, I had a no parking zone request in Cherry Valley. Actually, that's not an issue anymore, so I'm not even going to talk about it because, you know, there was no need for it in the end. I do have one other item that is not in the agenda that I sent out, and it's just to let you know that because of COVID-19, we have been working at the highway department, with, I don't want to say limited staff because everybody's working. It's just that we come up with, ideas and plans to try to keep us, safe. So what we're doing is, anybody that can work from home and, they are able to work from home, we're allowing them to work from home. A few of our engineers are doing that. Our support staff, what we're doing with them is we're doing, they're working alternate weeks. Now, they're staying home, but they're working at home. We have worked through IT. They've been amazing to work with. They helped us quite a bit so that people have access to their computers from home. So, for instance, I got 2 people that do permits for us, and there's a ton of permits. So one of them is working this week in the office and the other one is working from home. And the same thing, with the receptionist or the finance people. That is our office personnel. And then the operations people, and we have 33, if I count the foremen. Those guys are working, and every day because, they're not really able to work from home. But what we're doing is, we're starting them at different shifts. For instance, instead of everybody starting at 7 a.m., there's a group that starts at 6:30, and then they go to their projects. A few of them are, we have 3 satellite locations where we stage equipment and things like that. So a few of them start from those locations. And then, during snow events, we have allowed, about 5 of our drivers to park their plow trucks at home. These are people that live out in the farm areas, and where they can park their trucks. So we have allowed them to do that. Actually, that's beneficial to the county because if we have a snow drift or some major issue in the middle of the night, we just call one of those guys and they jump on their truck and then they go and take care of it. But that's also helping us, with COVID and trying to keep people safe. And, besides what now we all do is, everybody wears a mask in the office unless they're sitting in their office or their cubicle. If 2 guys are riding in a truck together, they're supposed to be wearing a mask, and things like that. So I just wanted to let you know that, even though we have less people in the office, we're still getting, everything done. So, and with that, that's all I had for reports.
All right, anybody else on the screen here, board members or otherwise, got any questions or comments? Mr. McCarthy?
Yes, I believe we're just about to adjourn, hopefully not skipping ahead of anything, but once again, thank you for having me on the committee. I'm looking forward to it. I think we're working with a great bunch of people here and just looking, hopefully I'll be able to contribute something worthy and also learning as I go here. So I just wanted to convey that to everyone here this evening.
Well, thank you. And like I say, I understand out of the handful of committees that make up this whole board, I'm sure they're all great in some way, but this is the best committee for me. All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Fellers, did you have something to add?
I was just going to add that I echo Mr. McCarthy's sentiments and thank you for taking the extra time tonight to explain things.
All right, and we'll do it again next meeting and we'll get up to speed. So motion to, wait a minute, Mr. Molina?
I see that Mr. Billick just logged in.
Okay. You want to, Mr. Billich?
Yes, sorry about that. Thank you. Sorry I'm so late today. I just done dropped my kid off in Janesville, so I apologize for the lateness.
That still don't look like Mr. Billich. But if the committee would allow me to do so, we did have some important information that we really wanted to see Mr. Billich and speak to an item. And if you'd agree to that, I'd like to take at least another 5-10 minutes to get through that if it's appropriate. Okay, seeing no thumbs down. All right, and I'll start this off, Mr. Molina, and and then you can carry us on to the nitty gritty. I would say first, thanks for showing up, Mr. Belch. There was nothing on the agenda of a major crisis tonight. It was basically just some housekeeping items and some change orders. We didn't spend millions of dollars or have any lawsuits or things like that. Pretty much typical stuff, and just an overview with the newly seated members. And like I say, nothing really out of the ordinary at tonight's meeting. But one thing I just wanted to bring you aware of, and it's been talked for a long time. Yeah, I know I've been trying to get a commitment of host fee monies towards the Winnebago County Highway Department. A lot of what we do here is matching funds, 80-20, 80% by the federal government and others, and 20% of the highway department. And, take a $10 million project, we put $2 million in, the feds will put 8 million, but we've got to have that 2 million to get that job done. And there's sometimes things we don't have that offset funds, or we got to prioritize. But that's down the line. And like I say, reason bringing this up, because you are the chair of economic development and understand that host fee and how all that process works. But as of lately in the last few months, I don't know if you're familiar, there was some temporary light signals out on Baxter Road and 251. I don't know if you've been that way. But those were due to the state was doing resurfacing out on 39 and the interchange and Alpine and stuff like that. And that was the detour route. So for a period of time, the state put those lights up because there was going to be heavier traffic flow there. And since the term that they were willing to keep them up for was till the completion of the project, which completed in the last 30, 60 days or whatever it's been. And the county had an opportunity to purchase that equipment from, I believe it was Rockford Power and Electric. And the state allowed the county, because of Baxter Road and Beltline there being county highway, the state allowed us to maintain and keep them up. Our obligation was to purchase the equipment and of course pay the utility fees. And in doing so there, I don't know how much you get out that way. I get out that quite a bit. It's a dangerous intersection to me, 4 lanes of traffic. There's a lot more increased traffic with landfill activity, the Amazon, the UPS, the holidays. I mean, and there's been deaths and accidents there. So anyway, the county highway, this committee, we all approved that, yeah, we would like to leave those lights up there. We purchased the equipment. And I think there was some conversation that we think in the next 2 to 5 years, based on traffic increases and studies, that the state is going to put permanent lighting in that intersection. So we had an opportunity to keep those lights there and purchase them with the anticipation that, hey, a few years down the road, the state's going to put them there themselves anyway. But had we not purchased them and had this agreement, the state would have took them down. So with that, a few months back, the Public Works Committee, and we approved it all. And Carlos, through his budget at the County Highway Department, spent approximately $46,000 to purchase this lighting equipment. And what we're asking and wanted you to be aware of, and we'd appreciate your support on this and your conversation, that we'd like to request that reimbursement from the host fees based on the proximity of the landfill, based on it's in Mr. Kelly's district. Prior Public Works Committee, and as of in this committee seated here, with the exception of yourself, because you just sat in, we are all in favor of it. And we wanted to plead with you and just put our request out there and see what you could do to help us and bring it back to your committee if it's something that you can be in favor of. And like I say, it's already been paid for out of Mr. Molina's budget, but it's like we'd like some recoup of that so we can spend that money elsewhere, and I'd like Mr. Molina to add any specifics to that and any question, comments you would have as well, Mr. Belch.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sonny. You did a pretty good summary there. And the only thing though is that, the state is actually, giving us 10 years to put permanent signals. Now, permanent signals, could be in the neighborhood, with geometric improvements, it could be in the neighborhood of, $250,000 to $500,000. Now, we would have 10 years for that. By that time, I know that the signals will be warranted, which means that the state will be obligated to participate in the cost. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future, but it probably would be 50-50, where the state pays for 50% and then we pay for 50% of the signals. But we had time to get to that point. And I think in the meantime, I know the Village of New Milford has indicated that they will, support and try to get some of the private development in the area to contribute some money as well going into the future. I know there is, plans for expansion, for some of the bigger developments there, and a lot of the stuff that I've seen in their future development includes signals at Baxter and 251. So, I believe by approving some of these developments, maybe they would contribute to the permanent signals. For the temporary signals, $46,000, we just needed to keep those signals there for safety. There's been some bad accidents there, and the majority of them involve semis. It could be, semis going to the landfill or to the airport, Amazon Prime. So it is related to economic development as well. So anyway, so that's what we have. And I found out that, and I'm sure that you know this, Mr. Billick, but that we had to go through your committee to request those funds.
Mr. Billich.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you for the update on that. That would be something that we can definitely look at, especially in regards to these temporary lights. Obviously, this was a purchase that was necessary, that you guys felt necessary that it was to be made, and obviously it's helped out alleviate that issue. So that's definitely something we can look at. I'll be meeting with Chris tomorrow for a couple hours, going over some other things that we're going to be addressing. So I'm going to see with him which way we would go about that, and then definitely offline, me and Chairman Tassone, I apologize, can have the conversation for future portions of it with the 251 Baxter area and trying to set that up. I know that one of the biggest things that we've been looking at, definitely from an economic development standpoint, was trying to encourage and trying to get back on the level that it used to be at, where we could actually try to help boost more development in that area, in that corridor. Over the last few years, there's been no one really that actually heads that. So I've been trying to work on it ever since I got the chairmanship role. So if obviously with the new chairman, he's obviously the chief negotiating factor there as far as development goes. And one thing that we've lacked, obviously, all the development plus zoning issues are also on Chris Dornbush's back. So it's been a little tough for him to get out there and get in front of a lot of businesses. One thing that we're trying to proactively take a step forward in is actually bringing more development for that area. I know that people that are from the New Milford area as well, they've actually come forward and asked me as well in regards to that, when we're going to start seeing some host fee funds being generated towards that direction to try to help fund more development in that area as well. So that's definitely something that's on the books too, but definitely we can start taking a look at for those temporary lights, and then me and Chairman Tassone can get together and maybe see what we can work out for future plans for that area.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Mr. Billich, just food for thought, is this is something that we've been hashing around for the past 90 days plus. And I know I've put Carlos off and put him off and put him off. And I just, let him know that, hey, it'd be a good time once Mr. Billich is sitting on this public works, that we can bring it up to him. And we have been, giving it a backseat for quite some time. So anything you could do to help expedite it. And if it comes to a point where you'd like Mr. Molinas to speak to the committee about that, anything you can do for us, we'd sure appreciate it.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to help in that regard. So,
all right, and with that, Mr. Billich, like I say, we just had a little brief intro with in bio time with Ms. Fellers and Mr. McCarthy, and gave them a little PowerPoint, so to speak, about what the county highway does. I know you're somewhat in the construction business and a little knowledgeable about things as far as building things in stone and brick and mortar and all that kind of stuff. But, welcome to the committee. And, I've been on this committee for 12 years and I'm glad to be here. We all get along. There's never really no arguing or hot topics or things, and just glad everybody's here. So anybody have anything to add?
Move
We
to
were
adjourn.
at, Jim, you got anything?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Mr. Webster, seconded by Mr. Billets and Mr. McCarthy. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.